These miniatures were primed with Vallejo's matte black primer using an airbrush. Zenithal sprays of Vallejo's German Panzer Gray and Gray were added before finishing with the zenithal spot highlights of Amsterdam's titanium white ink. I have been in a painting slump after being frustrated by not so great results from experimenting with oils. Add to that the stress from the CrowdStrike and DigiCert incidents for the company I work got hammered with, getting COVID and dropping a massive sweet gum log that squashed my foot, which somehow perfectly found the soft spot on my steel-toed boots, and having to bury 2 of 3 of my oldest chickens that remain. Along with now having heart palpitations from taking ashwagandha, which is supposed to help with the stress of all of this. It's been a crappy last 30 days to say the least. To break this slump, I decided to temporarily abandon my failed oil paint experimentation and come back with something easy. The Putty Patrollers from the Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid board game by Renegade Game Studios have been beckoning for months now. Because there are 24 of these miniatures, I allowed myself the freedom of experimenting color combinations directly onto the miniatures, but quickly settled on the colors that will be shown in this video. However, I do make some minor changes as I go to make my life easier. To help smooth out some of the spattering from the airbrush, I thin some Ashen Stone speed paint and apply it over the entire body save for the belt, mitts, and base. I immediately swapped out Cultist's cloak and apply this to the belt, mitts, and face that I had voided with the previous color. This already gets me close to the classic look of these menacing minions of my mother. I mean Rita Repulsa. Yeah, I swear to God, she looks just like my mother. Swapping to a basic black acrylic, I fill in the gouges. This becomes a lot easier if you thin the paint down a decent amount so that it flows easily into the crevices. Because the body is a light gray, any tiny spot you miss in the gouges will be painfully visible. This step, along with the eyes, took the longest on these miniatures. With the same black, I also darken the mouth and paint in thin vertical lines to give them that Thanos chin. Swapping to Molotov's liquid chrome mirror effect, I then give the eyes a bright reflective coat. If you've seen my Necron Overlord video, you'll have seen the experimentation I did with this product in the past. The video should be visible in the link above as well as in the description. This stuff tends to work best if you put it on thick and in a stippling manner, instead of with strokes with your brush. This becomes difficult to apply cleanly, especially on the corners of the eyes on these miniatures, but the end result gives a nice, unnatural reflection. Once the chrome is dried, I apply the same matte black around the eyes to add a well-defined border and clean up any chrome overbrushing that occurred. Oddly enough, this reminded me of when I painted Spider-Man, and this even looks like it could be a Spider-Man villain. I finished the eyes with a pass of unthinned Slaughter Red. For the most part, this will become the final formula, though I do make a couple of changes in the order and replace one of the colors. Moving on to the Super Putty next, I repeat the first steps, starting with the body with Ashen Stone, and the belt, mitts, and face with the Cultist cloak. Then I immediately paint the eyes silver and red. While the eyes dry, I apply Grim Black speed paint to the gouges. This is quicker and easier than thinning the black acrylic paint, and in the end you can barely tell the difference. The left is the thinned Liquitex black, and the right is the Grim Black speed paint. I do use the Liquitex black to line the eyes, however, as it's easier to control for finer lines. After assembly lining the rest of the miniatures in this fashion, I then assembly line each step of the base, starting with AK Interactive's concrete. I apply this to some paper as well and wait for it all to set. Grabbing burnt moss, I apply this to all of the bases. As soon as I reach the last one, I black out the rim with the same color I used to paint the borders of the eyes. Using the Not So Easy Army Painter basing glue, I call it this because it comes out of the bottle too easily, I spread this around with a wet brush and over a paper towel to ease cleanup later. I sprinkle green flocking using a sculpting tool. And this is what I ended up with. I didn't really keep up with how long it took me to paint these, but maybe 4 hours a day spread out over 3 days roughly to finish these 24 miniatures, and with very rudimentary techniques being used. I could add some edge highlighting over all the cracks in the body, especially the arms, or darker shadows, but as a giant minion fodder force, I think these look pretty good for what was done. Though it was a large number of models to paint, the lax attitude allowed me to churn through them with a little agitation and helped me break this slump I had found myself in. I'm excited to paint the next miniature and hopefully will be able to maintain a regular schedule again. That, and I hope no more unfortunate surprises await me anytime soon. And that'll bring this video to its inevitable end. I hope you learned something or were inspired to break your own painting slump. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and if you like the content under this video and would like to see more, you can easily support this channel by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I'm Jim with Working with Miniatures. I'm truly grateful for your time, and I bid you a fond farewell. Until the next video.